This is Tablebreakers. My name is Bruce, and we are talking tonight with a special guest because one of our usual members is playing homeless out in Tennessee somewhere. Somewhere in Tennessee. I'd like to welcome you to tonight's episode. We're going to talk about basically making a table yours. Hello, Baron G-Rock, and welcome to the panel, if you so choose. Ironcaster and others are in the chat on YouTube and our affiliates. So, our discussion tonight basically is going to revolve around how in gaming, there are some times when, as a dungeon master, you have the time, you've set it aside, you're starting a new table, and you are going to try to put together a group of individuals and have them at least do a couple one-shots, at least a few small adventures. And maybe, if they can work together, maybe you can say, here's the campaign hook, guys, go for it! And that is tonight's discussion, because a lot of us have libraries, volumes of books, but getting players to sit down to play your game in this miserable social media, technocratic BS age is a game in of itself. And so what you have to do is be able to listen, be able to orient yourself to what they're saying and how they want to play the game, orient your game to mimic their style of preferred play, and then as they start playing along, you start throwing in small little curveballs here and there, and before 5 or 6 sessions has passed, you have a group of people that are willing to stay and play your game because they're having fun. You're not there playing by the rules per Tumblr, per Twitter. We're playing your game, the game that you want to play and have wanted to play for months, if not years, if not decades. So, welcome to tonight's stream, everybody, so much. We have a special guest here in our chat, Mr. Viktor Gorchev.
Hi, everyone.
I will shut up at this moment and let you gentlemen discuss things. I have Shadow and Sun, Chimerian, and Jade along with us. And I'd like to thank you all for showing up in the panel and in the chat. Thank you, sirs. Thank you, everybody.
Quick question. What's Twitter? What's Tumblr?
They are miserable hard drives somewhere connected by a modem filled with angry, miserable people that have too many cats and ferrets.
Okay, I won't ask what a modem is.
Jake, you're on mute.
Yep.
I wasn't saying anything, but I mean, that's not inaccurate.
Lots of artwork.
Yeah.
Awkward silence.
Hi, everybody.
I'm perfectly willing to let one of the actual experts go first, and then for me to get a feel for the show, to see what the flow is, and yeah.
God.
Well, I can take it.
Yes.
For you guys, basically, we're talking about how we get them in, or how we hook them, or some variation thereof. How we keep them there.
No, sorry. Yes, we are allowed to actually have fun playing the game every once in a while, guys.
Yeah. I like to make it personal. Yeah, we are. If we aren't, we're doing the wrong thing and wasting our time and everybody else's time.
Yeah, but also look at the fun, like the idea, like I'm just sorry to have to ask like this, but are we not trying to like convince our players to actually play the game we want to play, or because
to keep them there, I think is where we're headed.
I know,
once we've got them there.
But the thing is that I mean, nobody ever fought like I know I've ranted about being told how to be on the railroad, but but you are kind of the conductor of said railroad, and you are kind of like convincing them that they should go the way like So you have to like almost be like manipulating them, as in kind of like twisting them and pointing them in the right direction and making them kind of convinced that, yeah, I want to play the game you're playing. Kind of like how secretly, as you just bombard them with little bits of information, a trail of crumbs that leads them kind of off towards where you want to go. And then suddenly somebody bites it like you're fishing, and suddenly they're like, okay, cool. So this is how the whole system works. And finally, you read the damn book. Thank you for finally doing the thing that I've been wanting you to do. And yeah, that's what it really comes down to, I think, in my part.
Okay.
Well, like I was saying, I try to make it personal. I'm assuming you know the players in question to some extent, and pay attention. I mean, they're supposed to be your friends. Use your memories or your knowledge of those friends and find reasons that if they're a Star Wars fan, well then use some Star Warsian hook to get them in. If you know their favorite part of Star Wars, then try to set a scene or a scenario or something like that doesn't quite copy it but mimics it in cool enough ways to get them thirsty for more. That's it. For me, it's not hard because I don't have a lot of new players or a lot of strangers or just met kind of people. They're all old time friends of mine for literally decades, several decades, and I can just read the room, so to speak, and find something that I know that they will like, or if not love, and if not, then if they decline, I call them a pussy and move on.
I don't know. For me, it's the hype build. I start getting my players interested in kind of early, like 2 or 3 months before I like to start the game. And I kind of tell them, give them little pieces of it, like little nuggets of information along the way. And those nuggets are, what the campaign's theme is, what the setting is, where I'm hoping to take the game, and what their characters are going to be capable of doing, be it, spell casting, be it, master crafting or whatever they want to do. And that kind of also gets me a feel for what they want to play, not just necessarily just in my kind of setting, but in general. So someone who plays nothing but spellcasters comes to me and says, "Hey, I'm tired of playing spellcasters. I want to play something different. I want to play something, I don't know, maybe melee or sneaky." Then I'm like, "Okay, well, have you thought about this?" And I'll give them kind of idea crumbs to get them down a path of their own choosing, but I'll give them the crumbs from my game that I'm building to get them thinking in that direction. Mm-hmm. So a little bit of manipulation.
I definitely think the pitch is important. You have to tell them what you want to do. You have to tell them about the setting, get them excited for it. But I found if you're dealing with more newer players, I personally take a more hands-off approach. I don't try to overwhelm them with lots of info dumps and stuff during the game. I kind of feel out what kind of players they are and what kind of stuff they want to do. And if it turns out that they do want info dumps and they do want the game master to want everything, well, that's what I do. But if they prefer to just explore themselves, appear among themselves, then I just sit there and wait for them to basically say hey GM, we want to roll something. What do we need to roll? Just wait for them to basically get me involved, if that makes sense.
You said something there that I was wondering about. Do you guys ever, try to get a lot of feedback from the players before the game? What would you like to see, kind of thing? Is there anything you really like to accomplish or do or experience in said game before you get too deep into the paperwork, so to speak?
I used to. Boy, did I used to. I used to try to do that whole thing of, here, rate what kind of game do you want? Do you want to have adventure, story? It had all this really cool, really in-depth material that I was like, oh, this would be fantastic. And I would hand them all out, and they would fill out the surveys, and I would be Be like,
Really?
wow, I have been given information that I'm going to use to craft for you the campaign that you want, and then watch them take all their suggestions, all of my work, and then throw that fucker into the goddamn inferno, light a match, and then just light the entire dumpster on fire. And I'm like, did you guys even think about what you guys wrote? Do you even remember what you guys wrote? No. Got it. And
you play with a lot of weed smokers? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I prefer not to, but beggars can't be choosers. But yeah. But no, it's just a simple fact that it's like, it's like, what kind of game do you want? And they'll tell you what they want at session 0 or -1 or whatever the fuck you want to call it today. And then by session 4 or 5, they've completely forgotten everything that they wanted, and they're off doing something completely different. I'm like looking at my notes, my well balanced graph of this is what kind of game they want, and then go, no, obviously no, and we just go off in this whole new direction. And I'm just like, I'm not angry, but it also taught me that tailoring a story to your wants and needs is a complete and total folly, a waste of my time, a waste of theirs. I mean,
did you think about handing them back their filled out sheets and ask them maybe do it? Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because that would be like the first thing I would do after about 4 sessions. Like, remember these? You want to update them?
No. And at which point, but the thing is, the game did that on all life of its own at that point. But I've even gone so far as like I have a 40-question sheet that like, here, I never need to read this thing. I used to ask for it back, but then I realized, well, I don't really need it. Well, I do, but I would like to. But I'm like, here, this is for you. Write it, read it, write it, fill it out, and then keep it for yourself. And periodically go back and read what you wrote, and then think about what you did, what you're doing, and what you're going to do. And most of the time, they just kind of go, cool. And you have like 2 people who are like, I wrote this. This is important. This is my character Bible. And I'm like, you are special. I put you on the shelf. And then I will beat you up repeatedly because you're special and I want to. Don't worry, I'm going to beat everybody else up too, but you're the special one on the shelf because you did the work. You know what you want. You know what your goals are. Congratulations. But no, I thought about at once this is my agenda. This is what you guys want. I have tailored my agenda to fit what you guys want. This will be a great game. And then watch them all go, ooh, birdie over there. Oh, look, a squirrel over there. And then they're gone. And I'm like, well, fuck it. We'll get back to the story eventually.
I don't know. For me, that's kind of my session 0 is how I like to run a session 0 is I present the material. When we finally sit down to actually play, I present all the material that they need to know on the spot. Like, here's your character sheets. They're blank. Fill them out as you wish. Here's your character packet. This is how you can build a character. I give them all the data they need to be able to play on that day. And then while they're building, I'm like, okay, what are you building? What do you want to build? And as they tell me these things, I'm okay, what is your character's goal? And I'll notate down what their character goal is. I'm like, okay, what is your character's motivation? Not the goal, the actual motivation. What gets them out of bed every day? And then once I know their motivation, I then, step it even further. Tell me about your character's past. Because I like to drag characters' past into the game. Like, you build a paladin or something who's a family man, he's married, has kids, he goes out adventuring for the extra cash or for the sake of the church, and he does that just because it's kind of a sacred job, not because he necessarily wants to. Okay, that's cool. I can run with that, but I can also then take anything that they put or included into their background, and I can pull it into a plot line or a plot hook to get them truly going in a direction. Like, for example, the paladin who's a family man, who's got a family and kids, I can kidnap one of his kids in the story and just have them going off on an adventure trying to rescue the kid. Go for it, Shadow.
Is his name Michael?
Right, it doesn't have to be, but sure, let's say Michael. But
Just trying to
I mean, and that. Oh yes, Dresden Files. Yes. But I mean, and that's just one example. You know, the rogue might be part of the Thieves Guild, and he might have been press ganged into it, at a young age. So he feels like he kind of owes them. It's that mafia mentality. It's like, oh man, I really don't want to go against the magistrate, but it's like, well, if you don't do it, what the consequences are, and then let the player come up with those consequences, because whatever they can think of is far worse than what I'm thinking. And then because of that, they'll be like, okay, I'll do it, and then that's another adventure hook that they created with their backstory. So I like pulling in all those elements that they created into the main game. And I kind of draw like a spider web of sorts with all of their backgrounds, their goals, their motivations, and then I start linking them together. It's like, how does this tie into that person's character? How does whatever this person's doing tie in with the paladin? How's the thief tie into the paladin? Like, what's the cross connection there?
Jade,
why are they together?
If you have the space to have corkboard up in a hobby room or garage, and you have all of the spider webs tied to push pins with various names and photographs, and it looks kind of like an alphabet agency trying to disseminate exactly who is the ringleader of this bunch. That would be great.
Yeah, I mean,
Whiteboards.
I'm gonna quote Deadpool on this. I'm gonna quote Deadpool on this. That shit gets knots.
Yes.
Because the way I weave things together, it's not necessarily discernible immediately until you take a huge, giant leap backwards to observe it from orbit, and then you're like, oh, now I understand why it's all connected. Because I like I tell 3 arc stories typically. Like I have one arc with one BBEG, and then I've got a second arc with another BBEG, and then my third and final arc is the big bad of that's behind literally everything that's going on in that era. That's how I run my more epic games.
Sweet.
I kind of do it the same as Jade. Maybe not to that extreme. Maybe not that extreme with like a corkboard and everything and like little pieces of string. But instead of sitting there with like a checkboard, like what are your expectations out of this game? I try to make it more natural. Like like he said, you talk to your players. You ask them what kind of characters they envision, what backgrounds they want. If one of them asks like, hey, I want to be this race, does that fit into your world? I'll try to work with them. If it does fit into my world, if I deem it like not like setting breaking, I'll try to like work with them and actually make it part of the world. I've actually enriched my whole settings doing that just by like having a player come up with something and I think it's cool. I'm like, yeah, that actually works, and like the whole setting all of a sudden has like a whole new like thing added to it that can just be mined for like tons of content. I just love doing that instead of just like sitting there, like I said, with a checkboard and be like, what do you expect out of my game? Like, no, just talk to me and then we'll work together and we'll come up with cool shit.
Yes.
And that was it.
Sorry, I'm reading through chat at the moment. I'm trying to get caught up in chat while I was talking.
Same here.
El Cinte says, it's not always better for those individual player motivations and plot hooks and relationships to be established in the game by that player. Maybe it's always better than some external story. And James L. pops in with, smaller preliminary encounters are a chance for building mystery, letting players flex an ability, giving them small rewards, and then you hit the big antechambers and make them coordinate, reveal stings. I'm thinking that's what he said. The things. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, Helstente said something interesting there. Yeah.
Helsinki's an amazing chat guy. If your stream is dying and Helsinki is in there, you start reading Helsinki stuff, people will get interested in your. They get back in. I used to love losing myself in pseudo autistic spider webs of plot development. Now I've considered that, but tend to involve it less. Hey, soy based Jeremy's in the chat. If you guys are following him,
Jeremy.
he is Felix. He is an amazing artist. James L. says, unironically, it would be interesting for a dungeon master to connect different encounters in rooms with snakes and ladders.
Yes! Yes!
Fucking James.
Helsinki. What you're doing here, though, Vic, is trying to make their world function within yours. One person's universe, not making a story as a group.
Well, yeah, you initially have to make them part of your universe and make them want to be part of your universe, get them excited for your universe. The story as a group, that comes through play. Or maybe they'll be starting as like higher level characters and you can let them like discuss how they already knew each other or like whatever. And, you can help them with that. But all of the character dynamics, that comes through play. I'm just there to like make them fit into the world and make them want to play.
Well, there are games like Traveler where, and I really like it, where part of the character generation process includes not just other people but how you know each other, and I like that because it takes the awkwardness out of the getting together, that tired cliche of you meet in a tavern bullshit. There's no need for that. You're already on the road. You've done that. That was done before session 0, like session, -8. That was never actually a thing, but they've known each other. For me, it just makes things so much easier than wasting the first 2 hours of the game getting everybody to know each other. Just come up with a reason. That's how you know each other. A lot of times, what I really like are brothers and sisters or things like those kind of connections as well. The whole Hobbit and Lord of the Rings was full of that, and it just makes things so much easier. Get past that awkwardness, even if they don't know each other. That's actually kind of fun. Suddenly, okay, you guys are brother and sister, or you're cousins, and now you're on an adventure. So it kind of also, for me at least, kind of gets rid of some of that potential party conflict or backstabbing or PvP, all of which is just absolute awful gaming in my opinion. If you've got people that want to do that, let's play a war game, get it out of your system, and move on, because we're trying to do something here a little bit more tangible, a little bit more meaningful. Not saying that board games and war games aren't that, because my son and I have played a crap ton of very memorable games together, and when all is said and done, okay, you won, I won, whatever. But with an RPG, it only ends when something really bad happens. Someone passes away, or someone moves away, someone gets married. Pretty much the same thing. Or
retirement. When a player actually goes, I want to retire, and I'm like, but the story is not over. No. You've introduced this place that I want to retire to. I go, now? No, but I now can see this promised land of a nice place I can retire to and disappear from the universe and not be chased by bad things. And I'm like, good. You see the finish line. Now let's see how much shit I can throw in your way. And it's nice. The fact that
I wanted to do a bit of farming.
I got a player who's actually thinking about retiring, and I'm like, what? No, there's still plenty of adventures. I'm level 12. I've seen some shit. I've seen horrors beyond mankind's comprehension. I want to retire. I'm like, finally, a sane adventurer. Bad shit. I don't want to be part of this anymore. I want to go over here. It's nice here.
But you know what? It's also not a horrible thing to let the player retire. only to force them out of retirement, because you can't force them out of retirement if they don't actually retire.
I know.
Give them that false sense of, okay, you made it. You succeeded. You won Dungeons and Dragons, and then 3 adventures later, you contrive a reason for the party to show up at the retirees' front door in the middle of the night. It's raining outside. Who can that be? And there's 13 dwarves standing outside his doorway.
No.
I mean, I in one game I actually played 3 different characters throughout the entirety of the game. I started off as a paladin, realized that one of the players was basically evil. He was like, "No, I'm not. I'm chaotic neutral." I'm like, "No, dude, you're evil. Just own it. You're evil." So my paladin left the group, and I brought in a spellcaster who was a reflexive smartass, and that went well until he got everything he actually wanted in life, and it's like, "All right, I'm out. Bye." So that character left, and I brought in a third character. It's not a bad thing to retire characters. It's really not. You play a character up to a certain point, and they're like, they've achieved everything they wanted to do in life. Let that character retire. Bring in a new character, bring in an entirely new concept to the game, something that the game is either missing or something that the group as a whole might need more than what your current character is. Retirement's not a bad thing.
Nope.
One thing I always found fun is if a character gets like powerful enough, like they get rich enough, they become like the king or like a lord of like their domain, and you actually turn them into a patron for like newer characters. They're like, instead of being like the player, they become the quest giver, like.
Yeah, so many, you can even let that player who's retired, have them do things that actually matter to the retired character, his own ambitions. I remember, I'm looking for this magic item, or I need these spell ingredients, or there's orcs over there, go get rid of them. All kinds of things like that. Especially if you keep the retired character in the story. Every once in a while, bring them up, or even talk to the player. Hey, there's orcs on the horizon near your kingdom. You want to, do something about it? Starting up a first level campaign. You could, throw your son in there, something like that, and just, keep it going like a real story would.
Yeah.
These characters don't have to just, exit stage left, never to be seen again. That's kind of, sad.
I like when higher level characters become patrons to like new characters. And like, show them the ropes, basically, like give them opportunities to go questing.
I mean, yeah, I've done that in my game, in the game world that I run. I've done that over a lot of the years, because the very first characters we ever, and I say we, I mean myself and my friend that I call Reese. The very first characters we ever made in that game world are immortal beings who still kind of control things from the shadows, and they send characters on their quests to start them down certain paths because they see something on the horizon that the regular mortals, they just have no clue. So like, hey, we see this thing on the horizon, we need to get a group of adventurers together. You get your group, I'll get my group, and you guys get your groups, and we'll all send them down that path together, and see which one actually succeeds. So I reuse characters who are immortals. I've reused characters who were at the end of their life, like, nope, hey, you need to carry the torch from here because I've gotten too old, I have to retire, or I can't go on anymore, this is my dying breath, carry on the torch. So I use that a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are previous characters in the game.
Apparently Kai wants to say something.
Yeah.
Written down there in that little cupboard that you see I'm pointing at right there is about 4 binders full of NPCs and stuff. I used to have a whiteboard that was very, very large that I would keep track of all of the weird shit that was going on. And so it's like I don't say that you can't be be a patron or have been patronized by an older character, but I kind of have this little unwritten rule of the moment that you bring you bring like, oh, I'm being sponsored by X old character, and that just means that you're just putting a giant target on your old character, but I'm not playing that character. They're still a mover and shaker. Obviously, they're paying for your existence. They're backing you up. They're obviously a resource that you could call upon because they're a mentor, an ally, a sponsor, something or another. And that just means that you'd better be, you player of X character who they all want to be sponsored by, you'd better be on the ball too. Why? Because whatever plot I'm working down here with the main party with is going to have higher level functions that are going to be up here that are going to hit you upside the head. And they're like, oh, so by bringing my old retired character in as a patron means I'm going to potentially be a target for all the bad shit? Like, yes, if you're going to use your power, the powers of evil are going to hit you too. And they're like, so that means, yes, my dear player, your Gandalf will periodically wander off and let all your little newbie dwarves get eaten by spiders because, you got to go find a necromancer somewhere. Oh.
Which could be its own high-level campaign.
But the lobby players, they don't realize that there's a high-level campaign going on at the same time. And, so here you are. I am the wonderful patron. I will help all of you do and give you guys cool shit. And excuse me, this key point where I could have saved everything by merely saying 3 words. I gotta go over here. Excuse me, I gotta go fight something. But, oh, great smart person who knows everything and has all the monies. Where are you going? I have an adventure I need to go take care of. Can we come along with? No, you can't. And suddenly Gandalf leaves for 18 chapters. You're like, where the fuck has he been at the whole time? We could have used you like an hour ago. I could explain to you, but no. And so players get the experience. And so some of my players have learned maybe we shouldn't call upon our old PCs because I kind of like them and I don't want them being, sniped by a high velocity lead sitting pill from a third-story building tomorrow. And I'm like, I know lead-based sleeping darts that are moving at high speed tend to ruin high-level characters. That kind of sucks.
I mean, that brings up a really great campaign idea for like a West Marches game. You'll have you've got hundreds of players playing the same game world, just different areas of it, and you've got the high level characters kind of going around. They're playing their own game when they get together, but they might go to the smaller, less powerful groups and help them out occasionally. It's like, oh, hey, you guys need help, let me assist you over here. Oh, hey, I'm being called elsewhere, bye. I mean, that's a great West Marches kind of game.
Some of those low-level groups might actually be working for completely different patrons, and they're opposed to yours, and they're like trying to work to bring you down. So there's like a whole there's all these different levels that you can do.
Oh dear God, yeah. I had one side game going once in one of my campaigns where a bunch of high-level players were all out to. I gave them the opportunity to finally murder hobo each other. Mm-hmm. It's like where I went to them and went, look. I know the 6 of you hate each other. Well, you're all friends, but you all secretly hate each other, right? Like, well, yeah, we're all good friends and gamers. Of course we hate each other. And I'm like, okay, the goal is simple. Make the most powerful, broken, badass characters that you could possibly imagine. Like, oh, what? I'm like, any book, everything. Go. Do it. Follow the rules. Roll your stats where I can see them, but then build me the monsters that you've always wanted to play and I've never let you play. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, and now your job is, here's the kingdom that you're in, murder each other. And like, do we know where anyone's at? No. You got to find each other and then murder each other. So what is this? An ultra-violent murder last man standing death match. And the entire kingdom.
So you have played Amber.
Yes. And I love Amber, but it's like, so meanwhile, my players, the actual group, is having a nice adventure. We're all being good guys, heroes wandering through this kingdom, having good adventures, killing the bad guys, stopping the evils, and then on the news in the background, an entire village erupted into fire today. Wait, what? Or somewhere else. It's like, and then a giant Godzilla-sized monster of doom and destruction was summoned and decided to make a town disappear. What's going on? Bad things are happening in the background. You don't know what's going on. No, we don't. And eventually they caught up with like the winner of the murder-death brawl, and they're like, what? Why are you destroying everything? A scroll of 3 wishes. All of this are over just 3 wishes? Yes, 3 wishes that I can't fuck up. Oh, okay. And it was kind of funny watching these players just murder each other in creative ways that allowed me to bring down hellfire and damnation upon players who are like, we're caught in the middle of this, aren't we? Yes. What do? Not die. Stay out of the way. Line of fire.
Yeah. When it comes to patrons, actually, one of my big inspirations was always from Appendix N, if you want to call it, from Farft and the Grey Mouser. That name is really hard for me to pronounce. Farft and the Grey Mouser.
Fafford.
Farford, yeah. There are 2 patrons, Shilba of the Eyeless Face and the Something of the 7 Eyes. That was always... I always thought that was really fun when I read those books as a kid, and I always try to kind of incorporate stuff like that in my games when I can too.
Classic book. Classic, yeah. Absolutely classic.
And I always kind of pictured those characters as high-level magic users, or if you want to talk in 5e terms, like warlocks and stuff like that. That just they're 20th level now, and they're just beyond normal mortal concerns. So they're just scheming and doing all sorts of shit. And it's oh, here's these 2 adventurers. Let's make them work for us. And yeah, I think that's also fun, just incorporating stuff like that in your games.
I always consider them completely alien, non-human type entities, especially from the old images in the Deities and Demigods book. But yeah, those books should be on everybody's to-read list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Even though they get pretty weird, getting masturbated by a skeleton on the ground, stuff like that.
And then Benedict shows up, and we all have fun. God.
People talk about Shotza. I don't know a Shotza, so I can't really comment on this.
I'm just gonna now that give me a second. Now that people are talking about it, last I heard of Shadowzar, Tango Tech on his channel, on his Twitch channel, actually had said his name and responded to him in chat, but that was a couple weeks ago. I watch Hermitcraft and Minecraft videos occasionally, so that's just one of the Hermitcrafters I watch.
Sell off a collection or 2, let me know.
We as much as I like Minecraft, I've never played it. I like the idea behind it. And so whenever I hear people talk about their love for Minecraft, all I can think of is my love. I had a 12-gallon container full of space-themed Lego parts, and about 40 of those Lego spacemen. Before Lego got franchised out, they had either Main Street USA or Lego Space. I was in the Lego Space.
I had those.
Yeah.
I that was my jam.
Castles and Pirates, too.
Yep.
I like the German version of Minecraft. Minecraft!
God damn it.
Good one.
Author Stephen Walton.
I also good.
If I see Shadzar, if I can get an information from him, I will pass that along. And I know there's a lot of OGs that would willingly try to throw maybe $500, miracle wise $1,000 within a short order towards him because we like the guy. We do. I like him quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I like the friction he causes, and I like the thoughts that he makes you have because he forces you to think. A good friend, no matter how fucking toxic they might be to your girlfriend or your buddies at work, a good friend will make you fucking put in your gray matter into the next gear. So we would love to see him make it through this shit. I would, and I would be more than willing to put my name on that.
Yeah.
I sadly don't know this person.
I don't know. He would commonly rift onto people, especially on Discord. But I mean, I've never wished him any ill will or anything. But everybody's got to find their own way somehow.
Yeah.
I only knew him for a short period of time, and he made a few nice comments on my channel, even though it wasn't his cup of tea, as he put it. And I don't wish anybody what I can imagine he's going through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah, exactly.
Chat between you guys. I gotta ask, and this has been a largely just kind of like a group of friends getting together, one talking after another, not stepping on each other's dicks, as usually happens. And of course, I would say that because I'm in Dick's division. But I would, if Jade, if you have some questions and you want to helm from the MC position, you may take that. If not, I gotta ask, with a new group, when you guys get yourselves situated and you get ready for session 0, what exactly are you looking for from your players? What are the tells? Because everybody has their rituals and such, but what is the tell that you know that you have a committed player after you've started laying down some initial rules and giving your trapper keeper of house rulings, and you share your Word document of how exactly certain procedures or subsystems are utilized? What is it? Shadow?
You know. I ask you every freaking other day, is it Saturday yet? Basically meaning, when's the next game? Are we playing?
It's Saturday.
If they care about the game, they want to know when the next game is. If they're having fun, they want to make sure they're there, come hell or high water, divorce, etc. Trust me. No, I'm kidding. Just they want to be there. They want to know when the next game is. And if they're really really good players, etc. They'll ask if there's anything they can bring. Like snacks or flowers for the lady to cool her off when a bunch of weirdos come to the door. That's always a very good idea. If you're going over to a friend's house and he's got a girlfriend or a wife or something like that, bring flowers. Just like if you're coming to dinner, if they ask you what can I bring, you tell them flowers. That's it. You never ask them to bring food. At least that's how I was raised. Bring flowers for the missus, and all will be, good with the world.
Yeah, I can get it. I can get behind that. Making peace with the host's wife is always preferable. We really want to thank you.
It's a lesson I didn't learn early enough, but fuck that bitch.
I think for mine, the tell that I like is when players start coming in with artwork, with concepts, with where they put thought into it, where it's like, because there's one thing about if you have a player who goes, I read the rule book and I made character. He does things and here's me. That's cool. But when I have a player who goes, okay, so this is this is the artwork for this is how the character looks, this is how they act, this is what they sound like, this is what I think music should be, this is what I go, you're putting thought into it. You might actually be interesting. I'm going to pay attention to you. If I have a player who goes, hey, can I do this? When they start getting creative, start thinking outside the box, when they start asking questions that I don't have answers for. And I'm like, let me think that over. Or let me check my notes, because I think I touched on that about 8 years ago, but I haven't. And then if they can make me engage my brain, fuck yeah, that's the point where I'm like, you're now a special player. But if I have a player who's just like there and a vegetable, who's just there to roll dice, I'm like, you're here, congratulations. Have you done anything else?
Thank you for waking up this morning.
You put clothes on today. You've accomplished adulting. Congratulations. Yeah. Like you put clothes on and they're clean. I love you. Thank you for being a human being. Now, enjoy. So I had one player, speaking of Minecraft, who decided to actually carve his entire character's home village in Minecraft for me. And then invited me onto the server so I could go wander around his hometown. And I'm like, cool. And I'm like, wow, cool. This is awesome. And he's like, yeah, this is a temple. This is the castle. This is the village and everything. I'm like, this is actually. And he went through and actually did like mood lighting. Like he did like really cool effects with like lighting behind walls and with like blocks. I'm like, you put some effort into this. And he goes, yeah. I'm like, you know we'll never come here. He goes, I don't care, but I know it exists. It's real. This is where I'm from, and I want to protect this. I go, I can see this now.
That's epic.
I can also kind of backfire though, like when they build like a whole town in Minecraft, when they get like custom character art, and then like in the first session they just die to a couple of rats. Yeah, they're just eaten by rats, and you're like, oh. Sorry, so he spent $80 on a commission, but
the thing here is that I've done that before. I've had a player who goes, "Oh man, it's beautiful artwork," and then had that character just fucking like they were just walking, like they were walking, made a bad move, and then suddenly, like I'm an adventurer, I'm going to go out there, and then they ate a 75 millimeter high velocity round right through the chest, and I'm like, sorry, your character just died, and like, oh, wait, what? And I'm like, well, bad shit happens. And they're like,
wow, that's pretty cold-blooded, man.
But the thing is that he walked. The threat was there. I said what it was. It was a very, very mean bad guy. He walked out in the open, thought misread the room, walked out, fumbled the diplomacy check to try to like disarm the situation, and then ate the siege ballista bolt right into the chest, rolled the dice openly, nat 20'd it, and turned him into street pizza. And his cool character died. He goes, well, that sucks. I go,
but that doesn't have to be the end.
No.
I mean, you could always draft up another character from the same town, like a brother, a friend, a cousin or something, and bring them in. Like, hey, what happened to my person?
Yeah.
It could be a revenge story at that point.
And the thing was the guy who had the really cool artwork that ended up being turned into a fine red mist was, he's like, I'm just going to reuse the artwork in a different campaign. I go, more power to you. It's beautiful artwork. And see, he wasn't hurt by it. He's like, well, dice were dice. They betrayed me. And I'm like, they did. And, he had a good plan, but he fumbled. And then I decided that he needed to no longer exist on this plane of existence. And then the party went and goes, we're going to spend money and bring him back to life. Like, it became a plot point. We're invested in this guy. We want him back. And I've also had other players who goes, this is my hometown. And then I literally go, and now I nuke it. So they're like, and the player who put all that effort into that town, and when I nuked his town, he goes, finally, I have a revenge plot line. And I'm like, wait, you were waiting for me to do this? I was hoping you would nuke my hometown. Now my character's motivated, and I'm like, yes, finally, a player who's actually as masochistic as I am. Good. I'm going to beat you up. And he's like, oh, please make it like. And now it became drama time. I beat the shit out of his storyline, and he gets to fucking have like. He's like, good, Greek tragedy time. I'm gonna actually do shit. I'm like, okay, let's do storyline, plot, character's motivation now. Go! And now shit goes on there. Is that what it's on? It was great having a player who's actually going. Finally, the GM who's actually willing to burn my hometown down. Like, fuck. He goes. It was afterwards finding out like. He sets the tinder. I lit it on fire, and now his character can do shit. And it isn't just simply, well, I'm waiting for mercenary work. No, he's got a plot line, and he's going to fucking pursue it. It was beautiful.
I mean, and that's what I did with was it Wrath of the Righteous, which is a Pathfinder adventure path. I didn't give any details as to what was going to happen to the hometown before the game started. So everyone had all these, interesting characters. They all had like 1 to 2 page backstories of their character in the hometown in the area. And then for those of you who are unaware, spoilers, but you've had your chance because it's been 8 years. Their hometown of Canabras gets absolutely leveled to the ground. Everything is practically destroyed. People who had family in the area, well, their family is either ash, under rubble, missing, or have moved on to other areas, thinking that the players' characters are all dead. Because it takes them 3, 4, 5 days to get out of the caverns from beneath. I'm not unwilling at all to destroy and level entire areas in a game world, to either A, make a point, or B, drive tension and drive narrative, to get the players to want to go do something. I love motivating my players on a revenge plot like that. Nothing motivates them more than, oh, you took my stuff, or oh, you destroyed my home, oh, you killed my family, I'm going to take everything from you. Like, I want my players to really get into character and really get into I am going to make you pay bad guy. Like, they want to take the fight to the bad guy at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that kind of, I can't really imagine that not being the case. I mean, I've been fortunate with my players to not really have any players who are, except for one, and this was a long time ago, that are not really engaged with the story, willing to play along with whatever I throw at them, not just be bumped on the log. But is that like really kind of a thing now?
Well, okay. With Brutal, since I cycle through a lot of new players coming in a lot of new players who are coming in don't really have a good frame of reference on what to do. I mean, there's some people who who you're like, okay, obviously I recruited you from you got recruited from a drama class, so you came in prepared. Mm-hmm. Or you've read about 4,500 books, so you came in prepared. Some of them, some people, role play a lot before they come and join the game, so they came in prepared. But yet, some players who come in, they are like, I don't know what to do, and they are the ones who are passively waiting for something to come and grab them, to to pull them somewhere. And so you do need to occasionally find a way to engage a player, because honestly, when you look at some of our books, some of our manuals, they are dense. I mean, they are some dense books, and people who are new at this, or even veteran players who are coming in and going, there is a lot of options here, and you run into like this paralysis from too much choice. It's like, so the GMs who are sitting here going, I don't want to put in extra work, so I'm going to say you can't play this because it doesn't fit my world. AKA, they don't want to figure out how to fit it into their world because whatever. Excuses are excuses, but we all play by them. But you look at the idea that, but if you run into a GM who's like, go ahead, show me what your creativity can give. If I give you an empty canvas and draw what you want, play what you want, make what you want, make the interesting character that you think would fit into, that would be engaging for you, and then watch a player lock up. Watch the person just stare at all the options, especially if you got 4 or 5 people who are also enthusiastic and who've been playing for a while, going, dude, play this, do this. In an earlier campaign, we did this amazing thing. And then you watch a player who's going, that sounds awesome, but that's way more than I could handle. And then watch them just stop their brain. You can watch the gears lock up. And you're sitting here going, how do I get that gear to work again? And that's when you start going, okay, everybody, you're overwhelming with choice. And then you start to just to disassemble the jam piece by piece until you can get them to go, okay, let's start from scratch. And then you work them slowly into it. And then suddenly that guy who was the bump on the log goes, but so what you're telling me is, like, case in point. So a player goes, so what you're telling me is I could be Batman. I go, not Batman, but something like that. And he's like, because now he's giving me a frame of reference. Like, okay, so he wants to play X little things. I'm like, what aspect are you trying to look into? And then you start working the player, getting his brain to start working. And suddenly that jam breaks. And now they're like, wait, so my theme is this. And suddenly, to use a different example, suddenly now I've got a druid who's playing out as he's a farmer, like a legit farmer, and not like dirt guy with hoe. No, he's like the farmer who's like, no, I'm predicting the weather, 18 months in advance, and I'm figuring out all of my harvest and shit. And the evil villain has unfortunately decided to disrupt my entire harvest plan for the next 2.5 years. I can't plant seed. You know what? I think it's time to show him what a high-level druid farmer can do. And suddenly you're like, ha, you're a farmer. And his background was farmer. And it's like he walks out there and goes, I'm actually a very, very high-powered endgame druid. And the guy goes, oh shit. And he's like, and he's playing up the entire point of view of his kind of was, I'm a farmer. And I'm like, and you can tell he grew up on an actual farm. He's actually having fun being a farmer who's just a complete and total badass. And you're like, oh shit. Because he's like, I'm a farmer. I know chemistry. I know biology. I know and he's like pulling out shit. He's like, I'm actually a very highly intelligent, terrifying individual. And what are you bringing to the table? And everybody else, oh shit. Because he's like just walking around like being goddamn Poison Ivy, the farmer. And fuck yeah. And when he walked into the table, he's like, I don't know what to play. This is the player who goes, I have no idea what to play. And I'm like, play what you want. And he's like, can I play a farmer? I'm like, yes, you can. And then he started thinking about farming. He goes, I want to be a druid. And then suddenly the gears are moving, and now he's this horrifying monster. And then, but he periodically reminds everyone, I'm actually a farmer. And when this whole thing ends, I'm going back to my farm, and I'm going to go back to my farm, look at my farm hands, and go, let's plant. And suddenly, yeah.
I was gonna say, when you said when players were like, other players were like shouting and like, hey, you could play this, you could play that, and just jamming up the cogs. The only thing I heard was spray the other players down with WD-40 to get the cogs moving again.
Yes, players are
no, shut up.
Players, unfortunately, are the big. are the greatest detriment to themselves. The group is an actual detriment to itself. A bad GM is detrimental, but a bad even a good group who's just too enthusiastic is detrimental. Now, you get a whole bunch of experts who are all really good at the game. It's a smoothly running machine. It's like German engineering. It works beautiful until it doesn't, and then it breaks apart and explodes. And you just kind of go, well, fuck, it's broken. But players who are too enthusiastic, then you put a new guy in who has been broken in, he's just like, oh, shit. And everyone goes, dude, it's so awesome, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, spray bottle, back the fuck off, guys. Let him have some time. And
sometimes you have a group that's they're all paralyzed though by choice. Like sometimes, like the whole group is newbies, and that's why I said earlier, like you gotta kind of feel out your group and not info dump right away because you might overwhelm them.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes it's actually good to like not even tell them really about the setting. Just give them like a tiny slice of it. It's like you guys are starting in this village.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes you have to railroad them a little bit. Sometimes you have to be. You guys are part of this organization. You're sent out to do this, and after that, they can start developing their characters, but you just got to give them a little nudge, so to speak.
Oh, yeah!
I'm literally almost an absent host because I'm interacting with chat and painting figurines, and you guys are just... We pulled the ripcord about an hour ago. Thank you.
You're welcome!
Yeah.
Give us more random shit to talk about!
Yeah, anything I can do to help, man.
Well, I gotta ask. We've got this guy in chat in our panel who is a published author, and I want Victor to talk about. And I know, Victor, you might not be used to this, but you're kind of a celebrity.
Am I? Oh fuck!
You have your own page on Drive-Thru.
Yeah.
And the people from Big Geek Emporium would like you to sell your material there too, because that's where people like Bruce would buy it from.
I do have 2 books on Big Geek Emporium, yeah.
Yay! Let me find that real quick, and I'll put a link in chat.
Yeah.
What exactly have you published? Can I ask?
Published author is kind of a big word because I just so far I've published Simple Modernity, which is an OSR compatible rule set for making your games like modern themed. So there's like rules for firearms, explosives, vehicles, and stuff like that. And like I said, it's OSR, so you can actually combine it with like old modules. Like I really want to run Isle of Dread plus Simple Modernity and one it kind of like. Kong Skull Island, that movie, which is like a bunch of treasure hunters like stranded on an island in like the 1970s, and there's like a stranded like Japanese like submarine where they can find like old ammo and weapons and stuff like that. But I'm just going over a tangent right now. The other thing I've published is it's called Waste Runners. It's based on my friend the Basic Experts rule set, his Cowpunchers rule set. Which is originally it's like Old West themed, but I made it into kind of like post-apocalyptic Europe, like based on
Chernobyl.
It's based on the Stalker games and like the old book Roadside Picnic.
Yes.
So basically that. And right now, I just finished the first draft of like the layout and stuff. I'm working on a 5e modern book called The Modern Adventurer's Guide to Guns and Gear. Probably going to kickstart that hopefully sometime at the end of the year. It's basically just rules for 5e to make it into a modern game. Kind of what I did with that OSR one, but even more expanded.
Now, the Basic Expert has written what's called the Cowpuncher system.
Yeah.
It's a real simple OSR style game.
Yeah.
And Waste Runners is based on that, correct?
Yeah, it uses the same rules. It just changes the setting. And it has some additional rules because, his is Old West, so it doesn't really have rules for, like, full auto fire and, like, stuff like that. So I had to make up some extra rules. It doesn't have rules for armor either, so I had to make that up. But for the most part, it uses his Cowpunchers rule set.
Cool. Now,
you beat me to it.
Go ahead.
He beat me to it because I also have World War II, World War I era weaponry for 3.5, and I was working on the conversion of them to 5e. I just hadn't.
The more the merrier, dude. People have beat me
Okay,
to the
well,
punch too.
I'll-
There's one that was like kickstarted recently and it made like 400,000 euros or something. And they have like the licenses for like the Crow, for Robocop, for Escape from New York, like
wow.
all this stuff. They have like the actual licenses, so they have like all these separate books that uses those settings. And I was kind of sad seeing that. It's like, god damn, like I'm working on this stuff and you're just like doing what I'm doing, but like way cooler. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Maybe I should just send my stuff over to you and let you look through it and publish it.
I'll just steal it. It's like, yeah, I made this.
Just put an added byline in there.
Yeah. Well, if you make it like full on World War II, like that would still be a lot different. If you like have actual rules for like Tiger tanks and like stuff like that, that's still a bit different than generic modern.
See, I focused actually on just the personal firearms, not the siege weaponry. The siege weaponry was I kind of pushed that off to the wayside and used kind of a bastardized version of Iron Kingdom's siege weaponry. But I used like the Browning automatic rifle, the Browning Auto 5. I used actual real world equivalences, renamed them, reskinned them, and each one of them has different damage types and different ranges based on the actual real world equivalents. A Derringer is only going to fire 10 to 20 feet, or at least that's its effective range. It will go farther. It's just not going to hit as hard. I spent a lot of time digging through firearm manuals and books and treatises on them for World War I, World War II era weaponry, and that's where I stayed at for my guns.
Yeah, mine's a bit more generic. Like I don't do specific models. I just have like semi-auto pistol, large semi-auto pistol, large revolver, shotgun, semi-auto shotgun. Stuff like that. And it's up to you what model it is in your game. Like if you want it to be a Desert Eagle or like something.
Victor, I'm surprised you didn't go by caliber. That seems like it would make a little bit more. I mean, from a fellow gun nut, I always go by caliber because it doesn't really matter what it comes out of unless it's a zip gun. Obviously.
Hey.
Or what?
Barrel length is important.
Yeah,
not just caliber, but you also need barrel length. Sorry,
no, I understand. And you can go rifle, pistol, but for basics, I mean, I've got a 32-inch barrel on my Remy 700. Trust me, I know about barrel length. But to just get a little bit more accuracy, but to still keep it simple.
Yes,
because the difference between a 38 and a 44 Magnum is pretty extensive.
Now, you all focus on the firearms. I was focusing on the big guns, like the actual armor and stuff. So therefore,
well, Kai, in my own defense, I can't get a hold of those things in real life, so it's real hard to use my own eyes and etc. As soon as I can get a howitzer in my backyard, then I'll think about it. But for the moment, I'm just going to stick with anything under 50 cal.
Well, my book has rules for airstrikes. It has rules for nuclear cruise missiles. I actually have like a whole rule write up for like nuclear explosions. So I go
again until I can get one. I really can't test it. To see just exactly how many D6 it's going to do.
So I shall quote from the Bible of Naval Anti-Aircraft Artillery on what everything does.
Well, after like 100 D6, I really don't see a point of going beyond that. I know there are people out there who've got 100 D6 to roll on the table. Okay, cool. I've got 20 dice in my collection. Fuck off. I'm just gonna roll one and times it by 100. Good luck. Maybe you'll roll a one.
I don't quite agree that by caliber is better, because there's lots of different types of guns that use the same types of caliber. You've got the Thompson Contender, which is literally just a single shot hunting pistol that can use 30-06. A rifle can also use 30-06. So
Right.
you're like,
Well, and that's actually how I break it up.
I mean, if you go from the smallest to the largest, 22 versus 50, there's going to be a couple extra D6 on the high end.
Yeah. I just think that normies that don't know guns that much, they think more about type rather than, caliber. They think assault rifle, they think submachine gun, they think pistol, they think shotgun, they think sniper rifle.
Yeah, but then you got idiots like me who have books like Can Openers, the entire documentary on American anti-tank weaponry.
I mean, for me, I split it up by caliber, but I went one step further. I took the most prevalent. So because I have a huge game world, every country at that point had firearms of some kind, and I took their most popular, based on the game world, the most popular weapon of each one of those countries, and put it into my firearm list. Now, that's not to say that there aren't other firearms from those countries represented elsewhere, but those are the most common ones that are available from those countries. And again, I split it up by caliber, and just because something says it's a 22 caliber, it might be a 22 caliber long rifle or a long gun ammunition, so it does maybe a little more damage.
The other thing, if you're doing a fantasy world, I'd leave off the fractions, like a 22. I'd make it like a 20.
That's what I was doing for the 5e conversion.
If you guys give me a moment, I gotta go take a leak real quick, but then I can show you the actual list of all the firearms I have in my book. So be right back.
Because
the thing is that
one game I'm really familiar with and an advocate of, because I'm helping them out. Arduin, back in the day when they first did that, they generic, there was no 7.62. You're never going to find that in a fantasy world, unless you're dealing with actual Earth, because every other freaking planet in the galaxy is going to have different calibers. So just give them a generic, you even go 20, 30, 40, 50, and you're good. And then you can, do that in, the equivalent of pistol, SMG, rifle, etc. For the added bonuses, because there are going to be bonuses in things like 2-hit and range, etc. Because there isn't there is actually, but there are some calibers that just don't end up in pistol form, that type of thing.
The single greatest book you'll ever reference. It's beautiful. It gives you game stats roughly for everything. It's made since at least the turn of the 20th century through 1988, and you can just reference everything you'll ever need to know about so much crap. From No. This is Twilight 2000. This is the old stuff. This is the good shit right here. This isn't fake bullshit. This is real. This is the fun stuff. And but the thing here is that you can have fun with this shit. Plus, if you're doing fantasy, you can go. You don't need to have it be realistic. Fuck, you can have. Do you have dwarves? Is there firearms? Yes. There might be some kind of weird magical bullshit that they managed to pull out of the earth, crush it down, and suddenly, wow, they've got something that's like bordering on, it's like this bullet fires something that's bordering on Hexel. Oh shit, Satan's asshole of explosives. And you're like, oh fuck. Like, humans, we know lead and copper jacketed and steel jacketed rounds. It's so fucking amazing. Our bullets are fucking amazing. The dwarf blasts at you, loads some kind of horrible fucking weapon up, and like, what the fuck is that? This is our answer to fucking guns. And you're like, huh? We are tunnel fighters. We are short-range, high-impact explosives. What? And then the elves are like, oh, actually, no. Ours are high, we deal more with with low recoil, and like all their shit's built for something completely different. You're like, oh, so I know. Ours is different and elegant and more different. It just runs differently and power differently. Or hell, like we are an elegant magical race. Fuck your gunpowder. We use magically using magical telekinetic rail guns. Huh? What? Well, in a sense, is what it is. It's a series of telekinetic push spells in an eye along a barrel, and it fires a bullet way faster than your gun, and it's silent. Oh, that's kind of mean. We're elves. What the fuck do you think we do? Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Fuck it. 50 caliber. Blow down your fucking forest. There you go.
Wouldn't it be just as easy to just have actual? You know, if you're going to go with the push or the telekinesis, wouldn't it be just easier to just throw in, you know, lightning bolts or, you know, 4,000 magic missiles?
But the thing is that I've had players address this idea, is that you need to be able to recreate it at a relative speed. So therefore you have these precision, beautiful, handcrafted, one-of-a-kind weapons being produced by elves, because that fits the elven character. We are craftsmen. We spend 6 months hand making one single thing because we're elves. Fuck you. It's what we do. And so therefore, there's going to be some kind of elegant super weapon, and you'll look at it and go, that thing can drop a rhinoceros with a single shot, and that one bullet in that gun costs more than a down payment on my house, and it looks beautiful. And you'll go, it is. It's wonderful. Dwarves are just like, fuck it. It's a grenade launcher. Eat a dick, eat a missile, I eat a grenade, bam, and then watch goblins explode. And you're like, that's dwarven. And then humans, we're boring. We're all things, and halflings. I don't know what the fuck they do. And gnomes, it'll be some kind of horrible. Okay, so it looks like a fish, and it's got laser guided rounds, an integrated grenade launcher, and a shotgun integrated into this thing, and low light vision for you humans. And so how much does it cost? I don't know. Does it? Can you fix it? Not really. Oh, cool. Yeah, but it looks like a fish. I know.
It's funny you say that. I actually have rules in this book for. I have a chapter called Cultural Firearms, and it's literally like rules on like what would dwarven guns be like, what would elven guns be like, halfling, goblin, orc, like stuff like that. And both have like they have like pros and cons. So like an orc gun, like it jams less, but it's also less accurate because it's basically just like if you take like shitty Russian guns and like make them like times 5.
Yes,
stuff like that. So
look, do I have an option for odd ass weird German space magic guns? Because that's what like what is this thing? I don't know, but it doesn't. I put a brick into it and it fires bullets. I don't give a shit how this works. Yeah. German space magic.
But if you pull my thing up real quick again, so you can see how I've set it up right now.
Sorry.
No worries.
Dwarven space magic, and I'm thinking you
German space magic
into a different tangent. I was thinking about something else, and you threw in Dwarven space magic. I completely went from manual into automatic mode and started daydreaming about what it would be like to hang out with the squats, or we're in the middle of the
yes,
going into like some sort of hive world, and maybe there might be a few refineries we could use once we clear out the bugs. Did I say that aloud? I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
The way I have my gun set up, because it's for 5th edition, and I'm trying to follow their 5th edition weapon rules. So I have simple firearms and I have martial firearms. So simple firearms is stuff that like. Sorry, good.
This right
here? That's mine.
No, that's his.
Okay,
that's mine. We'll get to that in a bit.
So I've got simple firearms. It's like stuff that like your average civilian would be able to get in most countries, not counting America. And then I've got some more simple firearms, sort of shotgun, pump action shotgun, semi-auto shotgun, target rifle, blah blah blah. And then it goes into martial firearms, which is where you get machine pistol, submachine gun, personal defense weapons, or stuff like the P90, which has more penetration than a normal submachine gun because it uses a different caliber. So that's where actually like different calibers come in a little bit. Assault carabine, assault rifle, and it basically ends at flame. No, actually, no, it ends at minigun. I think I'm actually missing a gun. I need to talk to my editor about that. I think they've left out a gun. It's like, where's my real gun? I actually put in a real gun for a little bit of sci-fi flavor, but yeah, I'm not seeing it. And then, we've got all the firearm properties here, because 5e uses those properties. Let's see, let me find the chapter on the different... that's my shitty cover. Page 86. Oh, I think I was at 86 just now. Oh, no. So yeah, as you can see here, it's like elf firearms, dwarf firearms, and they have like the different pros and cons. So elf firearms, range attacks are rolled with a +2 to hit. The ranges of every elf firearm are increased by half. But the cons are they will misfire an attack roll of 1, 2, and 3 because they're more delicate, so they are more prone to jamming. And then they also accept less attachments because they're just made more for like being that specific thing. They're not really made for like putting on like a shitty human laser sight or stuff like that. So that's kind of my whole thinking about this behind this book. And then I've got rules for armor, for explosives, for different calibers, including magical bullets. Yeah, it's about 200 pages almost. It's not quite done yet, but yeah.
Not quite done yet. 200 pages.
I've got NPCs. I've got a light battle tank as an actual monster you can fight.
I am okay with any game that has that in it. I'll take that.
Yeah. I've got 24 subclasses because again, it's meant to use like normal 5e rules, so it's supposed to go with like the 3 5e core books, and you just pull mine alongside, and you can just do like your modern setting. So it uses all the normal classes, but then I have like modern team subclasses, 2 for each main class. So I have 24 subclasses in this thing.
Nice.
So this is like the art for the barbarian, for one of the barbarian ones. So yeah, I'm hoping to have that out sometime next year. Hoping to Kickstarter it fairly soon.
Did you ever look at X-Crawl?
It sounds familiar, but I don't think I've seen it.
Okay, it's a campaign setting set in the far future with cyberpunk themes. It's written for Pathfinder or 3-Point Engine. Okay. Now, you have all the basic races from the PH in the far future, and everybody worships the Greek gods. All of the Greek gods. Not the Roman gods, the Greek gods. And then you have game shows where they put TV cameras inside the dungeon for their reality television entertainment. And the players are the athletes that go into dungeons. They're the celebrities.
Yeah.
And that's what yours just reminded me of just now.
You could easily do that with mine's setting neutral, so it's meant to just be like a series of rules that you can apply to your own modern fantasy, is my catch-all term, like setting. So it could be anything from that Will Smith movie Bright to like more Shadowrun type stuff, or whatever the hell you want. It could be like some German soldiers open a portal to like the Forgotten Realms, and like all of a sudden they're fighting orcs and goblins. You can do whatever the fuck you want with this. So just go wild.
I like that. I like that a lot. I don't run 5e ever.
Yeah.
But I like that because you're giving the players a different sandbox to play in.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels a lot more like something we would be used to buying off the shelf back when we bought things off the shelf out of habit. Oh, I got paid. Let me go to the game store, see what I don't have in my collection. I know you guys did that.
Hell yeah.
I was always a big fan of D20 Modern, so this was kind of like my homage to D20 Modern almost, because I noticed there wasn't really a 5th edition version of it quite yet. So
You kind of filled in that gap a bit. Nice.
Yeah. But I also want to do an OSR version, so I did that kind of with simple modernity, but it's very stripped down. It's something I made in like literally like 2 weeks. I think it's like 41 pages or something. But eventually I want to do like just as big of a project as this one was, but for the OSR.
Okay.
You see, with the firearms that I developed, I was developing a World at War style game where firearms were really coming into common use because one country decided to push the envelope to see how far they could take firearm innovation. Using Wizards College and professors who use time stop to study bullet patterns and bullet travels and trajectories, so they could really narrow down what was happening. Using time stop as a method of basically high speed camera, just a living person. So that's where my the reason I separated out by caliber is because the different calibers do different die types of damage, and then based on the manufacturer of the weapon, it does additional damage. So if you flip back to my chart, I actually show. Let's see here. I'm going to stay in the pistols for right this moment. Bruce.
Sure. Oh, my bad. Here we go.
So the in this chart, I'm staying in the pistols right now, but these are all the non-semi-automatic weapons, the ones that can only fire 1, maybe 2 rounds per turn. But they each do slightly different damage from one another. D4 plus 1 plus 2, a D8 for a 38 caliber. 45 does a D6, but does additional damage, and they all have different multipliers, and they all have different ranges. So that's what my focus was, based on actual real world equivalents of weaponry.
Yeah, you're doing actual models. I'm just doing generic weapon types, basically.
Right. And the other
Sounds
reason
like the damage is a little low there, though, Jade.
For what?
It depends on the game system.
Well, yeah.
So-
what game system?
This was 3.5, and the reason why it might look a little low was I came at it from the mentality of what kind of damage does this do to not a player character, to a standard non-character class person? What does this do to an NPC? Can a Derringer kill an NPC? Technically, yes, it could. It does D4 damage.
Yeah, I can't get on board with that. Because I understand that if you've got characters that can eventually roll 20D whatever for their hit points, but
Sure.
then you're gonna have the issues that Palladium had, where people are going to run into combat, shooting themselves to show how badass they are, to try and intimidate people. Firearms just go through people and do incredible amounts of damage. There are no, realistic, 20 hit die humans.
Sure.
Well, you can say the same thing about melee weapons, though. Like, if you watch people test swords, like a good sword will cut a human in half. That's not really reflected in D&D either. But also, people forget that, especially with 3.5 onwards, character classes, they add a lot of damage to your weapons. So a weapon might be 1d4 standard, but if you're a level 12 fighter, that same gun might actually be doing 1d12 because you've got subclass abilities and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, and then that's actually where my focus was as well, because there in 3.5 there was a lot of ways to up your damage static value instead of your number of dice rolled value. A lot of people were like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to stack frosting on my weapon. I'm going to make it a +5 weapon." So they were stacking damage onto the static side of it rather than just the dice side of it, and that's what's reflected here as well. It's treated a lot like a sword.
Guns are a lot different than a sword. Guns are a lot different than a sword.
They're equally deadly in different uses, though. A sword is just as deadly as a pistol, just as deadly, but they have a different way of using it. It's the methodology of using it. So yes, a pistol is far more dangerous at a range, whereas a sword is far more dangerous close up. Because if someone is within melee range of you,
you get hit with a 38. At close range.
At close range, it's dangerous either way.
The lethality from guns in games like this comes from range for the most part. In my playtests, I've noticed it's not so much the damage; it's just the range that you can do with them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Kai.
I know that we've been talking about small arms and adventurer-sized things, but the fact that most GMs, most game designers tend to forget that that there are bigger things out there that need to be killed. That
sure.
In a world where we have in a game engine where we have dragons and bullettas, the walking armored monsters that can just shrug off everything. We don't ever. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so you're wanting something more like the Vindicar, the Death Lance, or the hunting rifle, the things that do 3d6, 5d6.
Oh no!
1d10.
I'm talking about the crew served weapons, where it's because when you think about it, how are you going to ward off a dragon? Some kind of horrible flying hell beast, a wyvern, a dragon, some kind of monster. The smogs of the universe, the big giant horrible creatures. That horrible kaiju that had to walk out of there. It's how are you going to fight that? And it's sure, I could learn up, I could hope my my 500 nitro rifle might be able to do it, or I could have this large, KWK 75 high velocity 75 millimeter and punch a hole to that bitch from 2,000 yards and go.
Or maybe this H2R2 high wind heavy repeating rifle that's 50 caliber and does 2d12 base damage plus additional damage for every point by which they failed their save on your attack roll.
I know, but I want to be able to kill a dragon at high altitude who hasn't started his attack run yet. I want to kill the wizard who's sitting here going, I'm at long range with spells, and going, kill that fucker, as you hear the wonderful thumps of 105s and 155 millimeter guns thumping in the background and going.
So is 1,000 feet for first range increment not long enough for you?
Not nearly. As you see, I am a supreme believer in artillery. I am an artillery specialist. As in, these are some of my books are artillery specialists. I like killing people from. I want to wipe out grid squares. So when I write my shit, I'm looking for, I want to eradicate a grid square. That's what I look to destroy. So when I write my rules, they tend to be towards making the big boys. So when someone's like, I'm an adventurer, and then you just go, no.
It needs to make sense for your characters to have access to that, though. Not every character is going to have access to an A10 Warthog. They might be happy with a 50 cal sniper rifle.
But the thing is that, yeah. But the thing here is that I want to be able to explain. So how has your 1,000-year-old city that somehow managed to survive wizards, dragons, terrasks, and other badass super monsters that periodically just come out of nowhere? And no, we depend on valiant knights to go running into battle with crossbows and swords and some wizardy bullshitty spell crap, and hope to God that we win. Meanwhile, I'm going, oh, bullshit! You better believe that there's going to be some kind of horrifying dwarf who's manufacturing some high-velocity doom weapon, and that dragon, I'm a giant flying doom lizard, and suddenly the sky around him starts to explode in acid, fire, lightning, and high-velocity armor-piercing bolts with adamantine warheads just digging into his scalp, going, fuck your damage reduction, fuck you, -30 to your fucking DR, bitch, as you start hitting them. And then you go,
I mean, if that's the focus of your game, sure.
But the
focus
thing is,
of my game was World War, trench warfare.
And the thing is that if you're, oh dear God, if we're going to do World War, you need to read this guy's book. This motherfucker here. Okay, this guy here. This guy. Okay, sorry. This guy here.
Yeah, I have that. Upstairs.
This is one of the most beautiful books you'll ever read about artillery, and it will tell you that yes, artillery is an insanely, immensely important thing, and yet we always seem to ignore it because but we're all playing guys with character. Bullshit! Where the fuck is your mortar team? Where the fuck is your artillery? Even if you're doing pre-trench warfare, you still got direct fire guns firing explosives, motherfuckers. You should.
But the one guy
gives us this shit to play. Players will never have it. Bullshit. My players will look for this shit. They will. If you give them the opportunity to have a wagon that they can put a cruiser weapon on, they're going to take a cruiser weapon out there. It's like. But we're adventurers. I wonder, and suddenly you got one player who's going. I'm going. Okay, guys. I'm going to make my attempt to support. I have made my role. You may now have a +2 attack. Okay, guys. We need 4 actions to be able to reload this thing. Player 1. Shell in. I shell in, and there's like two players are shoving in powder bags. Another guy's slamming that breech shut, and player number 4 is like, all right, I'm going to fire this bitch. And then suddenly that round's going down range, and suddenly you got, boom, exploding bad guys everywhere. I'm like, well, shit. If you got, or you got one player's like, well, fuck it. I don't want the machine gun to jam. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to load those belts, grease those belts, load that shit. Oh shit, change barrels. And we got players who are having fun doing this shit. And it's like, but it's supposed to be about this. Fuck, you want teamwork? You give them a cruiser vehicle. You give them a cruiser weapons. You give them a vehicle, and suddenly you got players who are going, okay, cool. You got a commander who's spotting. You got people who are loading. You got and it's like, but it's supposed to be. We're playing a team-based a team-based role-playing game. Nothing says team-based role-playing game better than the crew of an artillery piece. Or a crew of a self-propelled machine gun carrier. And boy, and it's like, but it's all about one player holding down a trigger and just mowing down motherfuckers. That's all a fucking game is at that point. I'm like, fuck it. And I've watched players go, that's what I want to build. And then in a party, I can fire my 45 or hear this wonderful chugging sound of a 50 cal going thump, 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 thump. And at one player, just going, die, motherfucker, die, holding the damn motherfucker thing, just killing people. And the player goes, sure, our individual damages are not that high, but we just watched 24 orcs just turn into red paste and body parts fly everywhere. Fuck yes, reload and fire again.
So my book has rules for artillery and airstrikes. It has fucking nukes. So exactly what you want, but it has to make sense in the setting and in the campaign. If my campaign is about a SWAT team, I don't care how high level you are. You're not gonna be a SWAT officer and walk into some general's office and like, hey guy, can I use your howitzer to like blow up this fucking city block? Like, no, that's not going to make logical sense. So, no, you're not going to get access to a howitzer. I don't care if you're level 20. You might get, like, a 50 cal sniper rifle to shoot the bad guy in the face with.
Oh, gosh,
because you're a fucking SWAT officer. But you're not going to drop you're not going to drop a word of God, a fucking orbital strike on people. Even though I have the rules for it. It has to make sense.
I love the idea that the thing is, the rules should be there, but everyone just focuses on the small caliber shit. That's nice.
Well, I don't.
Everyone carries the small. Everyone carries a sidearm. We all know that. Everyone carries a small personal defense weapon. We all know that. But knowing that I have the option to remove a flying lizard from my sky who's inconveniencing my suntan, yes.
See,
want
the funny
that.
thing is, I make the flying lizards I make them the weapons. Wyverns in my game, they're basically living predator drones. They have like fucking cameras attached to their heads, and like there's like a controller somewhere whispering in their ears. It's like, hey, drop a hellfire from beneath your wing on that fucking thing.
Oh, I know. And because my players have done that too, and I've done that, it's the whole reason why it's like air defense grids are like the important like you go like I'm a wizard. I'm going to use cast my fly spell. You are about to eat a flatburn right into the face. What? Bum 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 bum. And watching players just load those bofa rounds right into the fucking in the top and just be like, die, wizard, die, as the sky explodes in wizard chunks because. Well, some motherfucker thinks I'm a magical wonder beast. I'm going to eat 20mm shells until you fucking die, motherfucker. And suddenly, when players go, "Oh, you mean flight is not the ultimate defense?" No, because if you go anywhere near a town, you're going to eat it. Why? Because flight is bad. Flight is scary. Dragons are bad. Dragons are scary. That's why we have heavy weapons around. To remove those things.
See, this is the thing with even my players during that war game tried to get to an artillery station, and they succeeded. They fought their way to the artillery station. They took the artillery station. None of them knew how to fire the weapon. None of them knew how to load it. None of them knew how to actually aim it or hand crank it into position. So none of them, because no one knew and no one was trained on artillery. They couldn't use it. It was utterly useless to them. They could send shells down range, but they didn't know if they were hitting on target or not. They didn't know the first thing about spotting. They didn't know the first thing about the taking care of the equipment and loading it. So when my party finally got to the point of we're level 5 and we're going to take that artillery battery. Yeah, okay, you successfully took the artillery battery. You have 1 victory points for your side of the war. Because you took a intrinsic point of value away from the enemy. Good job. But what are you going to do with it? None of you know how to fire it.
But I guess I'm used to.
One was like, "Is there an obvious way of firing it?" Yes, there is. There might be. You might pull the string. You might push a button. You might pull a trigger. Whatever the case might be. Okay, there might be an obvious way of using it. Now you got to. But do any of you know how to reload it? Do any of you know how to aim it so it's not facing your people? I mean, those are things that I think about, for my war game. So yeah, I had rules for artillery, but my players, because they didn't have any feats that were related to it, they didn't have any abilities or any class, training in artillery. None of them could actually use it. And they were putting their own army in jeopardy by them taking it and trying to use it because they didn't know how to aim the damn thing. They're like, what do these hand cranks do? Well, they rotate the gun here and there. Where's the army at? It's over in that general direction. It's going to take you several turns to turn it that direction. What if we fire it now? You're going to hit your own team. Oh, that's bad. Yeah, that's really bad.
If I look into some of those like sights on those artillery pieces, it's like numbers and fucking like lines and shit everywhere. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's so much fun.
I actually should put a knowledge like military or knowledge tactics skill in my game. You actually just reminded me. I should probably do that just for those situations.
I had actually developed a class called Soldier for 3.5 in Pathfinder. It was actually a base class because I was full down this path of war. I developed a base class called Soldier, and if you had ranks in Profession Soldier, you would have access to knowledge on how artillery works,
that makes sense.
and you would be rolling the Profession roll as your attack roll, not your base attack roll. And based on your knowledge of how it should work, based on your training, that's what allowed you to be able to take an artillery position and use it appropriately.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
But
Yeah, I've made all my own custom classes before, as far as like, because I wanted to be a World War I, World War II themed game, and I had to develop all of this on my own because there was
There's
that point
nothing.
in time. There was 15 years ago. There was literally nothing, and all I had to work with at the time, because the only game system that anybody wanted to play was D&D 3.5 rules. That's what I developed it in.
Weird
Well,
War
Kai wants to say
Traveler.
something. It's been 20 seconds since his last event, so about to blow up. Let's let him speak.
Welcome to stream, Victor.
Yeah.
No, as for the wizard, wizard who walked out, I'm just used to. I am ultimately tired of every GM and every fucking player just going, magic bullshit is all that we need to think about it. When their logic starts with, I opened the fucking player's handbook, I read a book, and a bullshit answer happens, and that's all that happens. Therefore, because I can fly, I have invisibility. Nobody will ever. No one has ever thought of it before me, and nobody will ever think of it after me. That I'm going to use this very, very thing. No, guys, we're playing in a setting that's been in a world, even if it's a published setting, where magic has been bullshit for a couple thousand years. Everyone knows what this fucking shit does. No, I have magically wizardy finger sheet bullshit. I read a book and I spin my fingers around, and I pray to my God and I spin my fingers around, and magic shit happens. And peasants in the entire world who's not me all goes, oh my God, magic. We never know what to do. How do we handle scary, scary fireball and magic that explodes from the sky? How is Guy flying through air? Oh no!
How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that?
Person does.
Caliber around.
I know.
Feet away.
Person turns invisible. How do we? Oh no! My peasant brain, because my GM is an ignorant fucktard, can't figure out how to handle this shit. We are all stunned by magical faggotry. Oh God, it's so amazingly magical. Oh God, how do? And I'm like, no. People will have figured out how to build a defense against it. Dragons are rare as shit. Nobody knows how to fight dragons. Fuck no. No. People understand if you put a big enough, a high enough, a large enough object and you fire it at something, dragon goes away. But no. Oh no. There's a scary land shark who's covered in armor. How do we do this? How do we fight this? I don't know. We wait for adventurers to show up? Adventurers, come help us. And it's like,
you're preaching to people that don't do this stuff. So,
but the thing is that I hate this. It's just GMs who fucking like, when you deal with the common public, with common people, it's just infuriating. That it's like in the end, I'm like, and here I have to come in and go, okay, I have to play a game. Everyone is an ignorant fucktard. You are all drooling adventure. You're the adventurer starting on a farm, drooling on yourself because everyone are dirt farmers. They farm dirt. That's all they do. And nobody's ever seen anything bad. And wizardy magic shit is all magical faggotry. Oh my God, you're all shocked by it. Oh wow, we're all stunned. It's the lost arts of magic. Which, by the way, I gained 3rd level, so therefore I learned magically instantaneously this magical 2nd level spell. Now I understand a little bit more. And then we stab a guy and we get his book. Oh dear God, please give me some books, some magical bullshit. Now because I have 2.5 million spells I can pray for, and dear God, GM, I'm too fucking tired. I don't give a shit. Just pray for your spells. Yay! I'm gonna do some really cool shit, really weird shit. I was born magical. Fuck you. And meanwhile, no one, and here you come in like, I would like to find a non-magical solution to all this shit through ingenuity and invention and skill. No, you can't do that, for everyone is primitive bullshit, and you may only play sword and sorcery as sandals. You may now walk in with your sword and your sticky and your pointy stick and stick it till it dies. And that's how you're supposed to fucking play this game. And it's fucking bullshit. And you go, I want to build a vehicle. No. Beagles are bad. I want to build a siege weapon. No, siege weapons are bad. I want to improve a siege weapon. No, that is bad because that takes away the fun that the wizard is having. Because the wizard is your artillery piece. I don't want the wizard. I can cast fireball 3 times per day. That's all I can do. Better hope we can handle it in 3 rounds, or I'm fucking useless. Fuck yeah. We know what we need to do. Kill it in 2 rounds, because that way the wizard isn't worthless. So that way we can all take a goddamn nap. Because we got a 5-minute work day. Yeah, let's do this shit. And meanwhile, you go, I want to find any kind of solution. Every GM, no. You would not know about that because you're a drooling dirt farmer. Fuck. So I can't do anything cool? No. Play generic fantasy time. That's because that's what we're playing. Generic bullshit fantasy time. Can I do anything cool? What time period are we looking at? Doesn't matter. We're in fantasy bullshit time. You don't get to have anything cool. Can I invent anything cool? No. Can I do anything cool? No. Can I do chemistry? No. Can I do alchemy? No. Can I do this? No. What can I do? Play a wizard. Fuck you. Fuck your magical bullshit. Fuck all your magical bullshit.
And my setting, which is basically like that, like I said before, that Will Smith movie Bright, it's like the real world kind of, but like what if orcs and elves and magic and all that shit existed? Casting magic actually has like a consequence. There might be an organization called Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Magic that if you cast too high of a spell and it fucks with reality, they'll come after you. If you're like level 20... If you're level 20 and you cast Wish somewhere, there might be a satellite that picks up this burst of like magical energy and like some alert goes off like in some shield-like organization. It's like some motherfucker is like messing with the fabric of reality. Let's send a team down there to investigate. So, it's casting magic isn't like, some freebie to be like awesome. Like, I don't care if you can cast fireballs. Some gangbanger with a 9mm Glock will just shoot you in the face anyway. Like, so...
Yeah, it's actually one of the things that came up in my war game was, there were war mages. There were a college of war mages, and for every 100 soldiers, the military that had the war mage colleges would put 1 war mage per 100 soldiers into effect, basically into platoons, just as a support piece. The problem that they were running into was anyone casting magic, literally anyone. It could be a mage, it could be, an arcane caster, a divine caster, didn't matter. It could even be a paladin. And in those moments, as soon as magic was employed on the battlefield, the enemy snipers would home in on wherever the source of magic was, and they would rain absolute death upon that location. They did not care, even if their own troops were there, they did not care enough about their troops to allow a magic user to survive. They would rain absolute destruction into that area.
If you're a mage in like fantasy like Stalingrad, you better not wear some pointy hat and a robe, and you better be very subtle about casting your spells. Or Vasily Zaitsev, it's gonna be in some ruins somewhere.
Yes!
Scoped, moss in the gun, and blow your head off.
Yes.
He does the officers. So yeah, you're exactly right. I was actually going to say that before you said it.
Oh, sorry. Great minds think alike.
No, yeah, pretty much.
And my officers were the same. Were treated the same way. You never saluted anyone on the battlefield ever in that game, because the moment you saluted someone, you were showing that they were an officer and able to give orders. That made them an instantaneous target. You only saluted when you were under the cover of a bunker or in a out of sight scenario.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, that's how I ran my war game anyway. And like I said, they didn't use artillery because they did not know how.
Well, that's half the fun of settings like that. Is like thinking like, how would the existence of magic and non-human races and all that stuff, how would it like change like things from like how we do it in real life, or like what would happen if that stuff actually existed? How would we react? What kind of tactics and like laws and all that stuff would we like have? Because like in my world, World War II was basically like undead versus the living. So after that, they outlawed necromancy and the undead stuff by like international like treaty. So it's like highly illegal. It's like the fantasy version of the some of those 3Ds are not coming to me right now. But you know what I mean, like war crime stuff.
Yeah.
So
I can't think of it.
Yeah,
It's right there, tip of my tongue. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's right there, tip of my tongue.
Geneva Convention?
Yes,
Geneva Convention. So
Convention level stuff.
So it's basically the fantasy version of the Geneva Convention, but instead of like, oh, you can't use hollow points, it's like, yeah, you can't use like necromancy and stuff like that. So that stuff is like highly frowned upon in my world, just because of like it was like extensively used in this war. So that's like kind of like fun stuff to think about when you're like making a setting like that.
Yeah, that I definitely had fun making that setting like that. It got my players thinking in a different direction than pure fantasy as well, because they had to realize that cover was invaluable. Like, having cover on the battlefield meant you had a place that you could go to hide when shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
I think I ran it 2 different times, and I had at least 1, maybe 2 players in both games that ignored cover altogether. They were running around the battlefield, bull rushing enemies, and they kept getting pissed off that they were getting absolutely lit up because they weren't using cover.
Yeah.
Like, well, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, no, it absolutely makes sense. They see someone charging across no man's land. Do you know what they're going to do? They're going to light that thing on fire. Yeah. They wanted to be the big damn hero, and I was willing to give them those moments, but they had to play it smart. They had to be smarter than just, I'm gonna run out there and I'll be able to survive a hail of bullets. No, you won't. You're going to die.
You should survive one bullet. One bullet should take you out. I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen what can be done with a single 22 bullet, but
oh yeah, it's pretty gruesome.
Yeah, to be honest, I kind of think that for the most part, as much as I've done in the past, but with the last X number of years of experience in the real world, I just can't put firearms into a magic situation unless they're literally like magical firearms. Nothing. No different really than a wand, because it just seems ridiculous.
It's a wand that a common person can use.
Yeah,
I understand, but it just doesn't work that way, and it makes the entire hit die premise all the more ridiculous. Because
I don't really agree.
I don't care who you are as a human being on Earth. If I come up behind you with a 22 and pop you in the back of the head, it doesn't matter.
But you can say the same thing about a sword. Like, if I come behind you and stab a dagger into your like vertebrae, you're also messed up. Meanwhile, a dagger does the 1d4.
We have rules for that. It's called coup de grace, and those are death attacks. So therefore, but you
don't even need to be. You can still, with a firearm, take anybody out. Period. Whereas with a sword, if you swing it, the guy has a better chance of surviving it. Let's put it that way.
What's the name of the guy I'm looking for? Adrian.
Really. Swords are more lethal than movies depict them. If you see what an actual properly made sword can do against like a pig, they'll hang down like a pig. That's about the size, like the torso is the size of like a fat human. They'll swing like. Not even like a broadsword. Like I've seen fucking rapists.
But in game terms, it's easier to understand the dodging or parrying, which you can't do with a bullet.
Yeah, that's why cover and stuff comes in. But health points also aren't just like pure damage. Like people always forget that. Health points are luck, the stamina, all sorts of things. So,
but in my experience, they've never been utilized that way. Nobody takes damage off their hit points from anything other than a weapon or something that does damage. I understand, all the way back to first edition, it was supposed to represent luck and things like that, but nobody ever takes luck damage or exhaustion damage or things like that. It's usually just you got hit, you take damage, you fall, you take damage, you got hit with a spell, you take damage. All the other ways to whittle a character down, according to what hit points should be, never actually happen. I've never seen anybody take luck damage in any situation ever, or exhaustion damage, except in very rare cases with people who know what hit points are.
I just think at some point, I just think at some point you need to gamify it, and to me, firearms are not sufficiently different to getting a battle axe to the face or getting 3 magic missiles to the chest to have like a whole.
Unless you consider things like through and throughs. A battle axe rarely does that, but a bullet can go through 6-8 people.
Well, yeah, you can add rules for that.
Gonna do that.
I have rules for like special armor piercing bullets that can like literally go through people and hit people behind them. That's like just extra rules, but that has nothing to do with extra damage or like.
You don't even need special rules because that's just what they do. They keep on going until they hit a brick wall or something like that.
Well, I mean, you do need rules for a game because also you're gonna resolve it. Like.
Well, you take control. You're the dungeon master. If somebody's behind the guy who got hit, and you're doing a grid map sort of situation, chances are you probably also, the guy behind you probably took the bullet too, and it'll keep on going and going, until it hits something sufficient to stop it.
Until it runs out of enough energy.
Right, which could be 10 people.
As Victor was saying, he's developed rules for armor piercing rounds. I also have rules for piercing through multiple targets. As a matter of fact, when I ran that war game, I had actually had special magic enhancements for weapons that gave that property to them. Like it would be, I think it was like exit wound was what the magical property was called, and it would basically turn any gun it was attached to or firearm it was attached to, into a line effect. It would attack everything in the line. Especially dangerous for
you didn't even need,
the 50 cal
magic to do that. Unless you're talking about like 30 people lined up, like they used to do in history, in certain locations. A bullet's just going to keep going. You don't really need to,
It depends.
Connell actually played in that game, and I think he shot through 80 zombies in one round. It just used one bullet and shot through 80 zombies because the weapon had exit wound. He turned a line attack into a 1,000-foot line that was doing 5d6 plus lots of damage. Because he also had a feat or an ability that allowed him to add his dexterity modifier to the damage. And that's one of the other things with 3.5 and Pathfinder is there were feats that would allow you to add more to your static number of damage instead of just dice.
To be honest, I think since most people use some sort of crit rule, I almost think that for the most part they should have like a massively increased critical chance just by pulling the trigger.
I have an optional rule in my book for
as opposed to needing a 19 or 20, it would be like you roll over a 10.
I think mine start at like 18.
I have an optional rule in my book for exploding dice, which I basically took from Savage Worlds. So, I've tested it, and like a shotgun that normally does like 1d10 damage, like unmodified, with the exploding dice, I've seen it done like 60 damage, and basically just like
I would actually have it start there. I
don't really agree with you, but
yeah, well, I mean, when I'm looking at individuals with 150 hit points, as characters, they could literally suck up 15 rounds. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, they're just an action hero movie character at that point, and if you want that kind of campaign, I mean that sounds fun to me.
To an extent,
I have rules for like magazines of holding, where you can basically, if you spend enough money, you can have magazines with limited ammo. So you just dual wielding the red.
All that crap too, and mind you, I was dealing with game systems that had a lot less potential hit points than what I see in everything from 3rd to 5th. It's a lot more hit points per character that to me just starts to, border on just silly.
That's an issue with the core game, though. That's a
Yeah, that's definitely more of an issue with the core setting. Now you say that my weapons
if you notice, most games that aren't D&D that use firearms, whether it be sci-fi, top secret, spy games, etc., people don't have scores of hit points. I don't know if you've ever played any actual games like that. Traveler, Star Frontiers, Top Secret, Aftermath. All these other games.
World of Darkness.
You get hit once, and you're pretty much Call of Cthulhu. Even you get hit once, you're bleeding in the corner, waiting and praying for a doctor.
Which is fine, but if I was making like gun rules for a game like that, that's how I would write them. But I made them for 5e, so I followed the 5e design philosophy. I follow the design philosophy of the system that I'm writing for. So, I'm not like married to the 5e system. I just made this thing for it. I'll gladly write like an OSR gun system where like a gun does like 4d10 damage, and meanwhile a character has like 1d4 hit points. Like, it just completely depends on the game for me.
Yep, and that's why for my 3.5 game, or my 3.5 weapons, firearms, that's why I wrote it that way, was because it was 3.5, and even at 20th level, I could bring a character to their knees, even though they had like 150, 200 hit points. I could actually bring them to their knees with a lot of those weapons. Yeah. And it wasn't just one weapon; it was multiples of those weapons on the battlefield. They were facing a line of like 40 people who all had weapons, firearm weapons, and they were all trained with them. So they were all doing dex, or adding their dex to their damage. So you get 40 people firing. I don't know. I'm gonna pick the one that does a D8 plus 2. So minimum damage is 3 plus dexterity modifier of, let's say, 3. So minimum damage is 6 per 40 people. 6 times 40 is what? 240 damage. So in a firearms campaign, I really didn't care about their hit points. I didn't care about how many hit dice they had. Because at that point you're just playing bags of blood. How much blood can I take out of you in a single round? Well, if you're facing off against 40 level 5 piss-ons who all have firearm weapons, or are all trained with them and can actually hit you, you're gonna die. Like, you don't stand a chance against that.
Well, it's the same in the 5e. Like, okay, so I made a damager like 1d4, but a level 20 like fighter, he might have that damager, but he has special ammo. He has like special like abilities that turns it into a D12. He has like a +10 from like his proficiency and like a bunch of other stuff. He has like another +10 from like some like feat, and then he's like attacking like 4 times around with that stuff. Like you just gotta look beyond just like the basic like damage, and you just gotta look at the system. So like I said earlier, 3.5 onwards, they have like a lot of character options that like add damage to weapons, and like just add modifiers and stuff that earlier editions like OSR didn't really have. So like I said, it all comes down to the design philosophy.
Yeah, Shauner says something that I actually have been wanting to kind of do. Play D&D without hit points. I love that concept.
AC is not nearly high enough everyone hits too hard. Everyone hits too often. You need to find a way to actually provide an active defense, something that can allow you to not instantly die. Because like at that point it becomes we don't like rocket tag, because the idea of who goes first, who does most damage, and alpha strikes wins. And now you have a game where I hit, you fall. It now becomes, if you ever thought that Dex initiative was the god stat, now it is the god stat. Because I hit, I win.
Coming from a guy who played in the old days where, if you made up a first level character, your chance of survival was 10%. Get ready to make like 4 or 5 characters in a game section. Because that's just the way it is. Now it's not that way at all. Having 3 death saves, and dungeon masters reluctant to even pull the trigger on the actual "you're dead" phrase. It's less and less of an actual game and more of a exercise in storytelling of how you're not going to die. If I want that, there are 100,000 comic books out there where the hero is never going to die, or any episode of Star Trek.
I know, but the thing here is that with the fact that you're playing a game where, okay, so you put on some basic armor, so you go from a 10, which means anybody needs to roll nothing, and they hit you half the time, and then you fall over dead. You put on some basic armor. Now you're fighting a guy who has a maxed out attack stat. He's got his bonus to hit. He's probably going to automatically surpass your bonus to your useless armor class because your AC doesn't do shit. It don't go up.
Realistically, though, armor doesn't make you harder to hit. It makes you harder to wound.
But that is bullshit. But we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons, where that's fucking bullshit. Because we don't have damage reduction in our games. Our game's about your AC is about how I'm effectively not getting hit until you roll. But since I'm wearing other armor, I got a +2 to my AC. You have a +4 to hit. So you need to roll an 8 to hit me. You hit me, so you roll up. You have a 60% chance to hit me, and I die. And not everyone gets to wear full plate. So the guy in the back, so the archer goes, snipe. I hit because I hit everything. I'm an archer. The fighter walks up there and hits you. So the only people who can actually have fun and not die is the guy wearing full plate, wearing a giant heavy shield, and if I wanted to play that shit, I would go out there and go LARPing me some SCA fucking fun, where you go out there in full plate and go fight there. But I don't have $2,000 for a set of armor. I'm playing a role playing game, and but do you have? See, I'd be okay with you're hit, you die, if there was a way to avoid being hit, as in a dodge, a parry, some kind of defense roll, or you hide like a coward behind a wall. But at that point, you got players who are like, but my character can't hide. I can't stealth because I'm playing a paladin, or I'm playing a barbarian. Okay, cool. Fuck yeah. But so we're gonna go play a game where 1 shot, 1 kill. Fan-fucking-tastic. But are we playing an engine that allows us to actually survive for more than 2 seconds? No. Oh, cool. This game sucks even more than it already has. So it's either bags of rice who beat each other until you're dead, or everyone but the guy with a tower shield and full plate is a corpse. Yeah.
You can give every type of armor hit points or damage reduction, like you said.
But the thing is that we're still going back to 1 hit point, 1 death. So we're just changing the direction of our hit point total. So are we going for? So if you get through my armor, I die. So my armor has hit points. So I love those books. I have them somewhere. No, I gave away my copy. I have them in digital form.
I'm just having a side conversation with Jade right now, so like in chat.
But the thing is that it's just no. I mean, it really is just simply we're all going to like. I'm sorry. This might be why I hate this game engine so much, and why I would like to talk about things that aren't this game engine so very much, is because it really is just simply AC is a joke. AC is a complete and total joke. It's that you need to start layering on magical bullshit. We're going back to magical bullshit here. Where do you want to live? Well, you better be glowing so much that some guy who goes, I cast detect magic, and suddenly you're shining like a fucking brilliant, like the 9/11 memorial, because you can't fucking hide the fact, because you don't want to die in 3.5 seconds. But, oh no, so, okay, GM, so you don't want your players to die. So everyone is now inept, barely functional wimplings who can, I only hit you 25% of the time, but hey, we're using XCOM dice. I hit you all the time. And meanwhile, your players just go, I smash, I smash, I smash, I smash, I snipe, I wizardy shit. Things explode. Yay! Fuck this. Fuck all of this. God.
That's pretty low AC Omenal.
Well, the thing is that, okay, so, and since, oh no, I'm wearing, studded leather. Ooh, I got a +3. I'm wearing chainmail, +4. Ooh. The fighter with a +18, with an 18 strength with his +4 has to roll a 10 to hit me, and I'm a badass. But, you get your dex in there too. He gets his combat modifiers too. Oh, so he gets to hit me 45% of the time. Oh, I gotta need some hit points to die, or you're gonna die. Oh, fuck. All the game math is all bullshit because it all just rolls down to, did you roll a 12? I rolled a 12. You won. Yay. But I'm wearing armor that can be DR, right? The fighter hits you for all the damage because he's a fighter, and his damage is all the damage. Or he's hitting you, or the ranger's hitting you with a bow for all the damage because it's all the damage. There are combat classes. This is like, bunk, thump, fall over dead. Ah, fuck. We're so heroic. This is... I understand. Real life, arrow might kill somebody with one shot. Stabbing somebody probably kills them in one shot. Shooting somebody probably kills them in one shot. Except certain people. But, we're trying to play a game where, there's some heroism where, oh, fuck, I got a grazing shot, and that does happen. But no, we're just playing a fucking bullshit game is what we're playing.
Well, so one of the aspects that I changed with armor or AC for the game that I ran was AC was not armor class. Your dexterity determined how easy you were to hit, but your armor gave you damage reduction equal to its AC value. So it would take a little bit of the damage off, not all of it. A person in plate, they're going to survive a bullet hit from a weapon that only does a D6. They're slower. Yes, exactly. They're a walking barn.
Now, but the thing here is
they're still going to survive it.
But the thing here is that because, so at best, your defensive modifier is a massive. You're playing the elf. You've geared for it. You put a feat into it. You got your dodge. You're fucking You got an AC of 16, and you're wearing armor that knocks off 3 damage because you're wearing some studded leather. Yeah, you can knock some of that damage off. The fighter is, well, I don't even need to worry because I'm hitting all day, every day, for the rest of my life, and I got multiple of these things. I don't care because I hit you for a D8 +4. Your armor does absolutely fucking nothing. I slice through it, and now it's my second attack. Oh wait, I'm dual wielding. I hit you the second time too, and you're like, fuck. I'm not really going to live long, aren't I? Nope, I'm slicing through you all because I fucking don't care. Slicey slice, or big slice, or big axe club, and people die. It's just like, come on. But if you suggest the idea that somebody might be able to parry or dodge or do something that keeps you alive.
There are games out there that allow that.
And
just not D&D apparently.
But most
there are classes that do that.
One class. One. And you play a swashbuckler. Oh, swashbuckler and what else?
I'm sorry. 3 classes. Swashbuckler, monk, because monks don't wear armor at all. They're all AC at that point. They're the only ones who get the actual AC bonus in that game anyway. And then duelist.
Which is kind of a swashbuckler.
It's a prestige class, yeah.
Okay, so we get one class that's a core class that gets the ability to put a stick in the way and deflect by being skillful, and then get slicey dashed into hamburger. I mean, there's literally nothing. It's the fundamental flaw of a shitty fucking game. Is you're just a target, and everyone will hit you because there are way more modifiers to murder than there is modifiers to not die. Unless you want to hide like a coward behind a wall.
I mean, I have a player in my 5e game right now who I fucking hate. Because even like at their base, they have 23 AC. And like with all their like buffs that they can do, like at will, they go up to like 28 or something. I don't think I've hit them in like the last like 10 sessions. So, you know,
you're attacking the wrong thing.
Yeah, you know, I need to do more spells but I know what you mean, but it doesn't always make sense. You're not always going to have that kind of enemy that like can cast a spell or do an ability that attacks like, you know, a save rather than the AC. But yeah.
You don't even have to attack their saves. You can actually attack their combat maneuvers. Like how prone are they to falling down? Can they be tripped? Can they be stunned? You know, there are so many ways. Difficult terrain slows them down. I mean, difficult terrain even. Like, you know, can they charge through thick brambles? No, they really can't. And while they're charging or trying to get through those thick brambles, what are you going to assail them with? Magic, or, you know, rocks, or pitfall traps, or
Magic.
You know, I mean,
why are you playing tabletop RPGs if you hate magic? Go ahead.
I hate this.
Well, there are a lot of tabletop RPGs that use no magic.
Well, I mean, it's true. I kind of like non-fantasy stuff myself, but yeah.
I think it's just because I don't hate magic. I just hate magic because it's too often the crutch that everyone leans on. It's like, do you want to do anything interesting? It's magic. Do you want to be better? You need magic. There's no skill. There's just simply, do you pay a wizard to do it? Do you go over there and fellatiate? And do you just give a blowjob to a spellcaster so you can be given permission to do anything in a game?
D&D definitely has that issue sometimes.
D&D, any game that has sparkly bullshit where you got wiggly figure bullshit crap, unless it's like Shadowrun, because Shadowrun you got a tank. I got rules that I can walk. I go onto the street with a minigun and go blow away a wizard. But the wizard can also go, I snap 3 things and cause the world to explode. I'm going to pass out after I'm done with it, but I'm going to be cool about it. Yeah. But you're going to die too. I mean, there are other games that have cool magic, but most of the time it's like you can't go anywhere unless a wizard fucking did it. You can't do anything. Wizards. Is a dragon cool? Wizard. He's got some magic spells that he also casts too. The evil priestess has got divine magic because she's got magical bullshit behind her. Everyone's fucking magically bullshitty. And oh god, if you try to go, well, do any of us who aren't magical bullshit? No. You don't get to do anything unless you go out there and get your magic sword, which needs to be crafted by a magical wizard guy who goes, wizardy spells over sword. Now you got your magic sword. Now you can be useful, wizard, because now, fighter, you're useful because now you're fighting monsters that require you to have a +3 weapon, which requires you to have magical bullshit. Now you can fight, and now you can go fight that thing. So I can't fight it with strange skill? No, because magic is required. But you need to be able to do more damage. Now it's a fiery sword, or an ice sword, or an acid sword, or a sonic sword, or a lightsaber. I mean, a brilliant energy weapon.
Yeah.
Now you got, you can't do anything. My armor class isn't high enough to be able to continue to not die. You need to go get permission from the magical wizard bullshit guys to go and have your magical armor made. Or you need to go find armor that was made. Can I make armor? Yes. Can I have cool armor? Not without first being passed through the magical wizard wizard woo woo shit. Now you got a +3 armor. Yay! Can I have it fortified? Go see the wizard. Wizard goes wizard powers, and now it's got fortification on it. Now you're not going to take crits as bad. Yay! I get to live for two and a half rounds longer. That's right. I'm hurt. Do we have advanced medical skills, and good long-term care to be able to treat those injuries? No. You got to go over to the magical woo-woo person who goes, woo, 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 woo. Divine, you're now healed. Do you feel better? I feel like I can get hit in the face with a flamethrower again. Yes, you can, son. Go out there and
when it comes to D&D, kind of depends on the edition. Later editions are definitely more like that. I remember one time I had like this whole campaign set up where it was like a mysterious like flower in like the graveyard of Waterdeep, and the players went to investigate it and stuff like that. And like it was supposed to be this whole like thing with like an investigation and like, you know, watch what happens. And then the druid was like, I cast speak with plants. And I'm like, oh fuck. That was like literally like 2 hours of like, you know, investigation and plot just thrown out of the window because you could just directly ask the plant what was up. That fucking pissed me off. But yeah. But it depends on the setting. It depends on the system. I'm about to play a game of 5e using Adventures in Middle Earth, which was the first 5e Lord of the Rings game, and it's very low magic. So I'm actually looking forward to that because 5e with like no magic sounds fucking amazing. So we'll see how that goes. Well, you're muted, Jade.
Sorry about that. The last time a druid decided to cast Speak with Plants in one of my games, he quickly learned that plants don't give two shits about the mortals around them. Because, like, hey, who passed by here? I don't know, some dude.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, can you give a description? Looked like you.
Yeah.
And then the party turned on that person because plants aren't going to distinguish individual people.
That
a tree ant might.
He thinks everyone looks alike.
Right. Yeah.
Forgive me. It's getting really late for me, so I need to get out of here.
I'm getting ready to wrap things up because we are at the 2 hour plus mark, and I'm sorry, Kai.
It's
I saw
okay.
you wiping your eyes, and I was looking at some paint, and I was organizing my paints for this guy here, and I'm like, okay.
It's fine, Bruce. We didn't need you.
Well, you guys were chatting along just fine. I asked you a question, and you went for an hour. I'm like, okay, that's pretty good.
It happened.
I want to wrap up everything, and for this stream here, I want to thank our special guest, Mr. Viktor Gorchev. And
thanks for having me on.
That was great. Thank you for coming.
No worries.
I really enjoyed listening to everybody interact with you because you can tell my guys are passionate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I don't mean to call them my guys. They're their own individuals. And Kai, one of these days, he's going to make a big channel full of rants, and oh my God, he's going to be giving lessons to Max and the rest of us on how to get angry and how to have.
Trust me, I don't need lessons for that.
I really want to thank everybody in the panel and in the chat tonight because this was a really good damn stream.
Damn straight.
I want to do this again at some point in the future because I think Viktor probably has more things to say. If I was just an observer.
Just mute me. I'll be okay.
No. Because between you and Jade interacting with them, like we were starting to peel apart like some questions and really getting into some deep things as far as to how to really have a damn great table. Mm-hmm. Just my own opinion.
I guess it helps if you have a different voice occasionally, then instead of same panel, you kind of know what each one's opinion is. Sometimes throwing in a wild card is useful, I guess.
Sure.
And like I said earlier on Discord, you're gonna have to make the rounds on everybody's channel at some point.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean,
we are going to pass you around like a
Don't say it. Oh my God, you shouldn't say it.
People seem to like me, and I have no idea why. And people keep asking me, why does everyone want you on their stream? And I'm like, I have no idea, but I'll take it.
Again.
Yeah,
I had a great time, and I
did
can't wait. I can't wait to do this again. we're gonna set a time in the future to where we have you come back. We don't want to
Yeah.
run you 2 weeks in a row because, in all honesty, there's other good quality streams out there, and I would
Yeah.
love to have you come in 2 weeks in a row. But at the same time, I don't want people to think, now he's just hanging out with those guys from Tablebreakers. He's one of those LOM people. He's one of those guys that hangs out with Shadow and Sun, and he won't hang out with me over here, dude.
I'll hang with anyone.
I can't. I've seen you hang out with James, the DM.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
If you want a suggestion of somebody to have on other than me, the basic expert, he's awesome and he's probably even more knowledgeable than me. I'm not knowledgeable at all, really. I just really good at bluffing. But the basic expert, he knows his shit. So get him on sometime. He's great.
But from everybody here at Tablebreakers, I mean, I don't. First off, Victor, do you have a stream that you do yourself that we need to show for you?
Yeah, I have a stream on Sundays called the Dutch Oven.
The
that
Dutch
I do.
Oven?
Yeah, the Dutch Oven. Because I stink, I usually say. That's kind of the joke. But that happens at 11 Central European time. So you guys got to figure out yourselves when that is for like you Americans, because you guys got like 12 time zones, I believe, like something like that. So I can't keep up.
Avocado time. Corn
Google
time.
is a thing. You can just type in Central European time. What time is it now? And you can compare it to like your own time. So so 11 p.m. that time. And then on Mondays, I'm a co-host on the Basic Expert Show at I think his is 8:15.
Mondays.
Yeah, Mondays it's 8:15. What's that time zone in Idaho? The Idaho time zone, whatever that is. Mountain time? I think it's Mountain time. 8:15 p.m. Mountain time. That's the Basic Expert Show. I'm a co-host on there, and yeah, that's about it. Otherwise, I just appear on like random stuff like this. So.
Okay. Anybody here have anything going on that we need to be made aware of in the next few days, Chimerian?
Okay. It's my birthday today, so if anyone wants to actually...
Hey, happy birthday!
Happy birthday and many more.
Yeah, I mean, just gotta put myself out there a little bit. If nobody will, then yeah.
Well, I've got a show tonight. Provided my son gets his shit together. Normally we have a video almost every night, and obviously Friday we'll all be hanging out with Max over on the chill stream at Legion of Myth. But then Saturday night I run a chill stream where we'll be talking about humanoid aliens that don't suck, that weren't just a rubber appliance slapped on. And then after that, I do a paranormal chat with our good friend Nathan Allen on his channel later Saturday night. And then obviously, like I said, I do a video just about every day except Mondays, which is going to change real soon. So I'll pretty much have a video on every single freaking day.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're very prolific.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get to 500 because I've got a bunch of stuff I want to give away, and if I can get there before Christmas, then I will be having a Christmas giveaway to, make people happy that I have more space in the house, because it's really starting to pile up. Those Kickstarters, they don't tell you how many cubic meters you're going to need to store them, which would be a really good selling point, because I've got 6 Kickstarters due by Christmas, and I've got nowhere to put them. Literally nowhere. I literally could put a small miniature storage case company completely in the black for the rest of the year if they contact me, because I don't have enough shelf space, and I need, like right now I need about 20 miniature cases that each hold about 100 miniatures just to get ready before January 1st.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, tonight, really enjoyed everybody on here. I want to thank my panelists, Kai, Jade, Shadow and Sun, and our special guest, Viktor Gorchev. And if you can, I've got me and Garrett have his links there in the chat, so you can click over on that and subscribe to him. He looks like a very prolific, good gentleman. And I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and with everybody else here at Tablebreakers, that we had a great time talking about various portions of running a table, and then asking Victor about various things which we could fix with D&D and the entire engine. But thank you for staying here this entire time. My name is Bruce Lombardo, and as part of Tablebreakers, I thank you very much once more, and I sign off for the evening.